coffee poured as I'm coming in the door.
You already know.
Yeah. I'm just a number to him.
As long as you got my weed brand.
Weed brownie.
Okay.
Hey, I like your steed.
So the brownies went quick, huh?
Oh, sweet. You want fun? You want fun? You want fun?
You have 2 frontal puss.
You say that to little children.
Turkey cookie.
That awkward moment when you get in the van and there's no candy.
You could take one of those home to your little boy. Would he like that, or would you rather him not be eating all that sugar?
Oh, come on. Oh,
he's an American.
Yeah, he's in America now. You corrupt him.
Eat it before I get to be obese.
No,
Yes.
no, get out. There's the door, get out. No.
You know, it's a great commercial about eating it before the commercial. You know, the commercials, like all the stuff we talk about in all the creative worlds. You know, advertising, commercials, movies, music. It's all the kind of stuff that we're doing in here, like screwing around and just having fun and being relaxed. But like that one where guy's sitting in his car waiting for his maybe girlfriend or wife, and she gets in and she goes, "Do I smell smoked sausage in here?"
Oh,
Remember that commercial? And he had just eaten one, right?
Oh, for
And he goes, "No,"
No,
and she holds up the
Dunkin' Donuts.
she holds up the Dunkin' Donut
could've
bag,
got me one.
and she goes, "You could have got me one." And he's got a crumpled up wrapper, and he goes, "I did." So that'd be your cookie for your son, with crumbs on your lips.
Better not.
What's waving that feather? That's what I want to know. Oh, there we go.
He's got a sweet mouth.
Now, does everybody understand?
I was picturing a stripper.
Sadly, I play it harder than
Excuse me.
Well, I can't really say nothing because I just want people.
Here's the part that's going to blow your mind. He made this game.
Yeah, I wish.
His spare time.
I wish I was rolling.
He made this game this morning.
Yeah, I wish I was rolling in this month.
Yeah, he made it this morning for speech class.
Whipped it together in Java, right?
What?
Whipped it together in Java?
Yeah, oh yeah. This game would work perfectly if it was written in Java. It works so well.
Yeah.
So much.
I wouldn't
The login just says turn back, turn back.
Turn back. Turn back now.
Don't even turn.
It is an LSD. It's beautiful.
So,
That's what I play all day.
You tell us when you're ready to go.
yeah, I'm just trying to figure out where to start. Unfortunately, I can't do what I was planning to do.
Well,
and I just get so.
you can't do your plan. Well, you can tell us all that. You can tell us what you're about to do. You can tell us what you're planning to do, and then you can show us what you can show us, and that becomes a speech.
Sure.
And if it lasts an hour, we just finish the cupcakes off and get the hell out of here.
Yeah.
No, I have a much better way to play this game at home. Projector's nothing to
Home
me.
theater, Dolby surround.
Yeah, pretty much.
You know what I think school should be? There should be like, there should be shit going down all over campus in different rooms all the time.
That'd be awesome.
And you should like go sample here and there, and the stuff that sounds like you're getting something out of it, come back to that one, right? And just see where it all goes. Some of it has to be structured, or you'll never learn anything. But some of the other things, like the core curriculum they make you take, like in a way you learn more in here about sociology than you do in a sociology class. You know?
This guy's probably thinking, what the hell is he talking? Want to run an old dungeon with me for a speech class? The hell are you playing World of Warcraft for speech?
Like, you gotta go sample a class. Like I went and sampled her speech
Sure,
class.
which one? And
Absolutely
speech class?
not.
So, yeah.
I told her, I said I couldn't do your class. Couldn't do it.
But don't reveal any of your secrets.
I went and sat through Karen Drum's physics class.
Yes.
Probably not what I'm gonna take.
Ooh, Karen? I couldn't take Karen.
Well, that's her.
Is he all of a sudden playing the game and forgot about us?
No.
Yeah.
That's
I can see that.
That's not what happened. Okay, I've gotten someone to help me out with this.
Okay, so I'm impressed that Grigore can speak more than one language.
Yeah.
I'm now realizing you speak more than one language. You speak whatever's going on there, because I don't know what you're talking about.
Right. So,
You're in charge? Okay. Give Joshua your attention.
So,
Is the speech beginning?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, it's beginning now. Is that, or do you need to see your keyboard?
Not at all. That's why I have the light up keys.
All right, there we go.
So basically, I'm doing my speech on tanking in this game called WoW. So tanking is one of 3 main roles that you can do as a player. So one of the roles is kind of like a damage dealer role. We refer to it as DPS, damage per second. Another role is healing, just healing your party members, you know, your friends. And the other role is tanking. So that's my friend Stickles. I've met him several times before. And he's going to help me out by kind of running this dungeon with me to kind of show off what we kind of do. Unfortunately, because it's an older dungeon, I can't really show you a new one because I don't have enough people, and I'm just unprepared for it. I can't show you what a modern dungeon looks like. So this is from about the dungeon I'm going to be showing you is from about 4 years ago, when Wrath of the Lich King, which is an expansion to this game, came out. This game was originally released in 2004. And it's referred to as an MMORPG, massively multiplayer online game. Basically, it just means millions of people are all in these worlds playing this game together. You won't really see many players along this area, mainly because it's in kind of old content now. Most players are beyond this. But that's not really what the speech is about. The speech is really about this role that I'm doing.
You're interrupting me.
There's multi-layers going on here. At least it wasn't you're interrupting the speech, prick.
You're interrupting the speech now, prick.
Oh, this is logic.
Oh, this is live.
Shut up now.
Just gonna leave.
Yeah, God knows what he's going to
Now he's just gonna start writing shit.
Hey, everyone.
No, Stickles is a real good guy. He's been our main tank. So raids generally consist of 2 tanks, 2 people doing this role. What a tank actually is they kind of take the heat from the bad guys, from everyone else, while they're really
Fight that dragon.
Yeah, while they're really taking down the dragon, I and Stickles are the one, or Stickles and I rather, are the ones kind of actually taking the heat from it, taking the brunt of the damage.
Wingmen?
More like they're wingmen to us.
Yes, that's okay.
So basically, tanking revolves around taking what's called aggro. Aggro is what is going on in here? I've never seen this before. Aggro is a possible thing that happens when. How do I explain this? So, as you attack an enemy, you gain aggro on it. It's kind of like just a number that shows who it's going to attack. So there are actually add-ons that'll show you a chart of everyone's aggro on a certain enemy. Say one of these guys down here. Unfortunately, I don't have one of those add-ons installed right now. Recently, this game got updated, and when that happens, the add-ons don't work for a certain amount of time until those add-ons are updated. But basically, as I attack this guy, he will start wanting to attack me. And as other people attack, if I had more people here, I'm just waiting for Stickles to get here and it'll describe my point a little bit better. But as I attack these guys, they want to attack me more. Because I'm a tank, I have to focus on how much aggro I get, and that's what leads enemies to attack me. It's one of the main things that I have to pay attention to. If I weren't to pay attention to aggro, what often happens is that a DPS member will just kind of pick some random enemy that I'm not attacking and pull aggro from me because I'm not specifically attacking his target. And he'll pull it off and he'll just die because he's not prepared to take damage. That's what my job is. So the reason aggro is such a big thing is mostly in these multi-enemy fights. We call these roaming enemies are called mobs. So as we attack mobs, generally what happens, and the reason I'm just kind of killing them is because, once again, this is an old content. If generally speaking, at the time that was concurrent, it took about 1 minute to take down one of those roaming packs. Unfortunately, that's not the case. What you'll see when Stickles gets here, which he should be here incredibly soon, actually, is that I'm going to start just ramping this up. I'm just going to pick up every mob in a room and focus them, mainly because I can do that. The whole reason that I'm actually a Paladin class tank is because our main ability is to be able to easily what is called AoE tank, which is area of effect tank. That means that in a certain area around me, I can easily pick up aggro.
I have a question.
You got it.
Are you a chick?
Yeah.
Yes, I am.
Is anybody else wondering?
2 years
Glad you said that.
before I made this character, I had played 2 years as a dude, and it gets really boring. So I just made a different gender character for this particular one.
That's how it begins.
Most of my characters are male genders, but yeah.
Is that Stickles there running behind you?
It is Stickles there.
Oh.
So
Get 'em,
Stickles.
Stickles.
Stickles is mostly a damage dealer right now. Although, like I said, he generally plays as a tank. So
He's slugging them there, isn't he?
yeah, he's like I said, it's mostly because the main reason that we're taking these guys down so quickly is because it's old content. I would have liked to do newer content, but I'm not prepared to do so. So basically, my job is to make sure that these guys are attacking me and not Stickles, and to make sure that Stickles has a free shot at everyone. So if they were to just instantly attack him, that would be very bad. Because generally speaking, although this is not the case right now, he could be taken down in less than a second. This boss in particular was very good at separating you. So bosses are like these single rooms, generally speaking, that generally have different mechanics. So those guys you saw were mostly, I was just kind of killing them. But this boss in particular has ways of separating you from your friends. So you don't, unless we just kill it in half a second. So that was one of the what I really would have liked to have done, if possible, would be to run something like an older dungeon, which or run an older raid, which generally speaking took 10 people to do. It would have really showed off some of the interesting mechanics of the game, but unfortunately, it's just not possible to do. So it's a little tougher to do this than I thought because of how easy this is. I really would have liked to have shown some current content to you guys. What I would have done if I could is have my raid together, which is 9 other people, and I would have shown you how we kind of deal with problems as they come along. Because generally speaking, you know, it's not just me as the leader, because what I'm really doing is I'm kind of off-tanking for Stickles. As I said, I'm very good at picking up AoE tanking, and AoE tanking is like, for instance, right here, where I'm tanking multiple mobs. And mobs, like I said, are just these independent enemies all brought together. They're called mobs because they're mobile, is what they're referred to. It's back from an older game, is what it really came down to.
Why aren't they as tough as they look? You're having no problem with them. They look so menacing.
It's because I've out-leveled them. I'm like I said, this content is from 4 years ago, so the game works kind of by leveling. And I'm a level 87 character. I think Stickles is a level 90. So at the time, the level was actually level 80. And while I wouldn't say this was a problematic dungeon, because it was one of the first dungeons in this expansion, it would have taken a few minutes to take these down. It would have been much more interesting to show you if I could have. What I'd love to have is some tool to be able to de-level myself, so I could show you, like, just kind of... I could still kind of easily speedrun through this, but it's much more. It would be much more interesting to show you what's going on. But it's just it's very difficult. This is actually just kind of rolling to get gear. The whole point of these dungeons is to improve your character by equipping new gear, essentially. Like this is like a cloak slot. You put on a cloak, it makes you a little bit better. Head slot is like it's like a like a cap or a hat or some sort of thing like that. And they each have their own stats and abilities. And I could go into them if you're really interested, but I imagine that you're not. It's interesting to me as someone who actually cares about this stuff. But to put it simply, each stat increases a different potency of my abilities. Strength makes me stronger, and I can hit harder, which gets me more aggro. It also does a little bit more damage, but as I said, that's not really my role. Stamina makes me have more health, which allows me to sustain more damage, which is really important, and various things like that. This boss was interesting at the time because he prevents you from attacking him, and you actually have to hit those little orbs to kind of take them down. It would spawn little mobs that you had to fight off individually. I mean, that's really what this kind of all is about. Each fight has its own mechanics, and each fight has its own thing that you have to learn. Unfortunately, I can't show you much of that, although I'd like to. I just wanted to have sort of a visual representation of what the game was, which is why I set this up. But basically, each ability that I have does a little different thing. For instance, a lot of enemies are spellcasters. This is problematic for tanks because they just kind of stand in their spot and they attack you. Unfortunately, because we're just running through them, I can't easily show you that. But I have several abilities that allow me to stop them from spellcasting and bring them to me, actually, which makes it pretty interesting. Actually, I can say this. Stickles as a warrior tank doesn't have many abilities that let him bring an enemy to him, but he has several charges, which you actually just saw a version of charge, which makes him go to the enemies, essentially, incredibly fast. He doesn't have to really run. He can just hit the charge button and just go. Makes me a little jealous, actually. Because in content like this, when you're getting snared, snaring is something where you're getting slowed or stopped so you can't move. It's problematic if one of your DPS members just takes aggro off of you and you can't move to get to the enemy. That's why taunts exist, like this Reckoning ability. But taunts only work so well. They only work for about, I believe, 8 seconds. Taunts essentially make an enemy attack you specifically, but the aggro still exists. So it doesn't reset aggro, and if it doesn't reset aggro, that means that essentially after that 8 seconds elapses, if I haven't regained the aggro, the DPS is probably going to die, which is bad.
So what happens if you die? Start over?
Not necessarily. There are some fights in which you can, if you only lose, say, one DPS member, There are fights where that's okay. You can survive and keep going. But most fights have things called DPS checks, in which you have to reach a certain threshold of their health in a certain amount of time. And if you don't, they do what's called an enrage. Enraging, generally speaking, they just multiply the enemy's damage by like 2, and that pretty much instantly kills any tank. Because all these bosses are generally made to take a tank down in 2.5 swings, is what we call them. So that's actually an example of Stickles actually pulled aggro off me for a second, but of course we just kind of took it down. But that I tried to use my taunt, but he was already dead by that time. But yeah, if one of you dies, generally speaking, you're probably screwed, because most likely someone who died was a DPS member, and you're probably in a DPS check fight, because probably 75% of all fights are DPS checks, where you just have to reach a certain threshold of damage in a certain amount of time. And if you lose a DPS member, you're probably not going to make that check. And generally speaking, we do what's called a wipe, where the tank just stops tanking, turns around, which eliminates some of those stats that you saw, like parry and dodge, only activate when a tank is facing towards the enemy. And then it's called a wipe because everyone just chooses to die, so we can get back and start over again. Generally speaking, though, you can generally survive 1 death per fight as long as it's not a tank, because there's something called a battle resurrection, which you can just bring someone back instantaneously, but you don't want to rely on that, because obviously if you need to assume someone's going to die, then you're probably not ready for the fight. I wish I could show you more.
Are you going to do more there, or can I flip a light on?
You can flip a...
Maybe we could ask you some questions.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
I don't know about you guys, and I don't know if you guys do any of stuff like this. I don't. So all I kept thinking was, if I got a new job and they hired me, and today was the day they were teaching me what I'd have to do, I would never come back again. I would walk out feeling so lost, and I would think, I'm not cut out for this job. There was a lot of information going on there. But and that's not a knock. That's not a knock. That's it's funny. What's easy for some people, because they've done it so long, it's a whole lot different to someone who's never done any of that. But how long have you been doing this? I have other questions about you personally, and I don't know if you guys do.
I've been playing this game for 5.5 years now.
And yeah, this game for 5.5 years.
Mm-hmm.
To what extent? Or do weeks go by that you don't play?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Actually, for about 8 months, I didn't play, just because there was no content. There was no new content for me to play. Stickles, I've known for the entirety of that time, actually.
Where is he physically?
He's in Southern California, if I remember correctly. I've met him several times at like Penny Arcade Expo. We've gone together to the to BlizzCon, which is a convention just for like the 3 games that Blizzard makes, essentially World of Warcraft.
How many of you in this room do anything
StarCraft.
remotely similar to this? So quite a few of you. How many of you zero? Zero. Because I'm over your shoulder, I see Matt sitting there, and I think there's a guy who plays baseball, right? What he does for fun, and you can lose yourself in playing baseball. So unbelievably different from that, and yet it appeals to the same thing in human beings. What we do to amuse ourselves, occupy our time, have some fun, face a challenge, solve a problem. It's neat that there's so many options for that kind of stuff. But this seems like so much work to a guy like me. On one level, like I'm unbelievably impressed. Like I should do a "We're Not Worthy" in front of you.
There's a fairly large kind of like, not learning curve, because you can actually fairly jump into just about any role fairly easily, but there's a lot of work like in the front because you have to level. You have to what's called grinding. You have to go through all the levels and do.
You said millions of people play this.
The last count that I remember was 9 million. At its biggest, it was 12 million people.
Playing worldwide.
Worldwide, yeah.
Sort of stuff at various levels.
$15 a month.
Oh, you pay to subscribe?
Yeah.
Yep, it's a subscription.
Are you part of that world?
Yeah, me and my brother played since they came out. We played their first games, Diablo,
Yeah.
Warcraft, Starcraft when they first came out.
Fascinating. It's fascinating that there's so
Years ago.
many people, I at the top of the list, who until today, totally clueless, never
Yeah.
saw anything like this, never experienced. How many of you could walk in this room and set up what he set up to make this happen? Again, those of you who are either majoring in this or are familiar with it. So even that on its own level could almost be a speech. Because he thought, I said to you, pick something that you either know a lot about or you're good at. Obviously, you qualify in both categories.
I'm not saying I'm the best on the server or ever was, but I'm
at
fairly
the-
good at it.
At the same time, when you thought, I think I'll give a speech on this, then your wheels started to turn. Why don't you describe that process a little? What you knew you had to do to be able to do this. This is not perfect, as you said, but still.
Well, the first thing that came to my mind was actually show you a video of the Lich King fight, which was a fight from this content release.
And there are videos of it.
Yeah, there are videos of it, but it's like a 14 to 15 minute fight, and if I'm not actually doing it myself and I haven't had a hand in the video, it would have been very difficult. Perfect world, I would have had 10 level 80 characters, and I'd have my raid play that fight because we did it.
Yeah.
It took us that particular fight. We did about.
Now, when you say we, you say raid.
Yeah.
Say that in language. Here's something for you guys. I'm always,
Sorry.
No, don't be sorry. I always want to share with you things that I've picked up throughout my life. And there was a movie, and I want to say it was called The Philadelphia Story, where Tom Hanks has AIDS and eventually dies.
Yeah, it's called Philadelphia.
Philadelphia. Well, Denzel Washington is a lawyer in that. He says something that is profound, and he says it over and over and over. When people start talking about things, he goes, wait a minute, tell it to me like I'm 6 years old. That is one of the best things you could adopt as a method of dealing with people. Tell it to them like they're 6 years old. That thing that you call
A raid.
and your group kind of.
Yeah, it's.
Yeah, tell it to us like we're little kids. What is that?
So it's a raid is generally speaking 10 people, and however much is decided by the raid leader. But generally speaking, you go on weekly what are called raids.
How did you get together? How did you get these 10 people together?
That's a long story.
Over a period of 5 years.
Not entirely, but we all started. Our guild is called. Guilds is a larger group of players. Raids are generally comprised of players in a guild. Our
Why don't
guild.
we fight wars this way?
I'd love to.
You think that's what
Because
we
we'd kick ass.
No, you think that's how we should fight wars?
No.
bloodshed.
No bloodshed. We're gonna fight online.
What's that?
Because South Korea.
I'll listen to his line. Because South
True,
Korea would
South
win.
Korea would win.
Yeah.
They really would win.
That's how
South
you
Korea
guys
would
say
win.
I often award quarters for good statements because South Korea would win.
No, you don't understand. Like
South Korea
they're
would win.
they're really good. All of these
StarCraft. StarCraft world.
It's frightening. But anyway,
But I'm only half joking. Since we can do this, like if we made the stakes just as high, let's say nations go to war, and the stakes are, if the nation is an aggressor, and the stakes are, we will take over your country, and we will rule you, and we will have all your resources. That's the stakes in a war, let's say. Or the stakes maybe if we were to go to war with Iran, the stakes would be you'll never have a nuclear weapon. You'll do things we want you to do. And two nations went to war because the stakes are such that one side says no, I don't want that. One says, and they go to war, and 500,000 people get killed in the war, and there's an end result. Somebody's going to win. Doesn't it stand to reason that we could say, this is how we'll do it?
you wouldn't want to do it.
Same. Well, maybe not this,
Not
but
this.
same stakes.
Call of Duty.
The end result will be the end result.
There's too many positive
The
reinforcements.
winner is the winner. The only difference is there'll be no bloodshed. Like, okay, maybe it's not this game, but why wouldn't there be something, since we have the brains to make this, why couldn't somebody make something that would be the electronic equivalent of...
There are plenty of games that would fit the bill, but it would have to go through a long period of figuring out which ones are completely appropriate. You suggested Call of Duty, but the problem with Call of Duty, and this is why I don't play it, but I don't want to knock it just because.
It's not like I'm a major fan. I'm not going to.
The main problem with Call of Duty is, and I know this because I'm really into video games, is it focuses on things called positive reinforcement loops. Call of Duty has something called a kill streak, and as you gain kills, you gain abilities that let you kill more, and it's
like just calling an airstrike.
Yeah, and it just compounds, and that's called a positive reinforcement loop, and it's unbalanced for fairness, and you need to kind of weed out games like that.
It's kind of interesting that if we made the electronic equivalent of war, we want it to be fair.
I'm just saying.
No, I like that.
Where real war, I'm like, fuck you, I got the bigger
real
bomb.
war, like, there's all's fair, love and war, Anybody have any questions? Because we can continue with this for a while, but there are other people who probably want to give their speeches. But questions. I could ask him questions all day long because I'm clueless and I'm fascinated. And I am a sucker for passion. If somebody is passionate about something, whether it's hunting, or whether it's laser discs, or whether it's this, or anything that you're passionate about. I'd pick his brain about baseball forever. I love that. I love that passion about something, so when I'm near that, I just want to learn everything about it, especially if I don't know anything about it, because then it's neat. So any questions for Josh before we head over to that other room? We're down to, a few cupcakes and 2 cookies. So as we're heading out, grab something if you like. Were you done?
I'm done. If you want a quick summary on how we got together, they don't have to stay and listen. If they don't want to.
Okay. Start moving over that way. I want to hear how this group got together.
So I started listening to a podcast. Are you familiar with podcasts?
Yes.
So I started listening to a podcast called Legendary Thread, which is about games like this. Most of them did play this game. One of them decided to start a guild called Can't Quit You. And the group formed out of those people who listened to the podcast and decided they want to play together.
That's what fascinates me.
That's not cool.
That somebody took a bite and put it
That's
back.
what it looks like, don't it?
That can't be the case though. That'd be something to do with the baking process because it's got the paper on it, right?
Yeah.
Or was the paper actually?
Oh God, the paper's baked into the cupcake.
That's all. Just got messed up. But the idea of a new way to make friends, a fascinating way to make friends.
Right.
People have come in, you care about these people.
I love
tell. Like it comes through. You love them, right? The way you would a kid you grew up with, next door to you or something like that.
They're all really great people. Stickles in particular, I love it.
Thanks for going through the trouble. Yeah.
What did you think?
Oh my God, this is beyond the grade.